Good morning. My goodness. All these people here to talk about children. How fantastic. And this is where I immediately go off script, because when I listen to other people speaking, I start scribbling notes. Catherine, thank you so much. Dr. Calderwood, thank you so much for your introduction. Catherine introduced me as the acting Minister for Children and Young People, and I think that's really important that that's up there and that everybody understands why the First Minister, the first female First Minister, made me the acting Minister for Children and Young People. Some people say, do you not feel a bit, you're just acting, you're not the Minister? No, this is absolutely me doing this job, me being the acting Minister, is an absolute walking example of how important this government and this First Minister realises that how we look after our children is how we build the future of Scotland. It's the first time, as far as we're aware, that any minister has been given maternity leave. Most ministers are too old or too male to get pregnant. But we have a very young government and we have a very female government. And so when the First Minister came into office in November, Aileen Campbell was, I think, at that stage, 7.5 months pregnant. In the past, what would have happened was Aileen would have gone off on maternity leave, and Alistair Allen, probably as the Minister for Skills and Schools, would just have had to do Aileen Campbell's job. So children and young people would just have got lumped in with schools, and Alistair would have had to cope, would have had to hope that children and young people still kept their focus, and Aileen would have been under pressure to come back to work as soon as possible. Doing this properly as a maternity leave says so many things, doesn't it? It says that children and young people are important to this government. It says that, in practice, Aileen Campbell should be able to go away, have her baby in peace, and bond with that new baby, and bring her new family together, because she's got a boy of 4 and she's got a husband. And Aileen's been able to do that. So in practice, we're saying we want every parent in Scotland to be able to, from the beginning, build that close, nurturing bond with their child, because all the things we do with our children to give them a better start in life start with that bond and that nurturing. So, acting First Minister, God. Whoa, I didn't say that. And absolutely not. Acting Minister is a title that I am incredibly proud of, and I think the whole of Scotland should get it and should be proud that our First Minister did that. 60 people on a netwalk, wow, that's really brilliant. And I did, when I saw that, I thought, can I do that? Can I get up early enough and get out there and do that? Can I also turn up looking like a minister, having walked for half an hour? Dr. Calderwood turned up and looked elegant, and she'd done it. So will I give my excuse? I couldn't bring the dog with me, and I couldn't see the point of a walk without the dog. In your packs, lovely to see, the handouts, the singing, the songs, the rhymes. But for me, the biggest thing in there was the sheet-headed research evidence. I'm a health librarian. You never stop being a librarian, no matter what job you get in the future. I spent 20-odd years as a librarian in the health service. I spent 20-odd years saying to people like you, don't put a hand on your patient until you can show me the evidence that says it's going to work and it's not going to damage them. I taught people like you how to find that evidence. So while for me to turn up and find out that everything that you're doing, everything you're hearing today is absolutely based on the research and the evidence that shows that it does work, then it does mean that we can get it right for every child, every time. And lovely to hear about the buggy walk. There's the evidence. That's the sort of things we need to do. Evidence used to be the randomised controlled trials, the huge big thing. It cost millions of pounds and took hundreds, 2 and 3 years to do before you could say that was a good trial, and that's good evidence. Through the Early Years Collaborative, we have discovered that one of the best things you can do is the tests of change. Go away, have the confidence to say, this is an idea I'd like to try. Let me try it. Give me the funding to do it. Give me the space to do it. And then I can bring back the evidence. And in that short test of change, if it shows it doesn't work, then we've invested money to not make a mistake in the future. But so much of what we're learning through the Early Years Collaborative is go off and do a small test to change, find that it does work, and then share it in venues like this. Now, there's 200 people here for the Early Years Collaborative learning sessions. How many folk have been to any of the Early Years Collaborative learning sessions? Excellent. They get 700 people. 700 people sharing all those wee tests of change, and that spreads out all across Scotland. So evidence-based, how we do things right for children. Absolutely fantastic for this health librarian. Jerry talked about how inequalities are absolutely at the base of what blights a child's start in life. I'm the MSP for Strathkelvin and Bearsden. A lot of you will have heard of Bearsden. I've lived there all my life. It's a very nice leafy suburb of Glasgow. So I live in the leafy suburb of Bearsden, where the average life expectancy is in the 80s. I am a suburb of Glasgow, where in some places, oh, I'm getting told it's 5 minutes, and I haven't even started reading the speech. Okay, right, let me just finish this bit and try and get on to... So, Bearsden, average life expectancy, I think, is 82. Shettleston, average life expectancy for a man, 58. That can't be right, can it? That just can't be right. I'm 57. So if I was a man in Shettleston, I'd have a year left ahead of me. But I'm a woman in Bearsden, where I was born and brought up. I'll live till my 80s. Well, I probably won't, but I would if I had a better lifestyle. And I'm not meaning to make a joke about it, because it is incredibly important. And where I live, where I represent, I absolutely get this. And this government gets it. It is about the inequalities. It shouldn't be that when 57 years ago, my mum brought me home from a hospital to a house my dad had bought while she was in hospital in Bearsden, that my life expectancy and my life chances changed so dramatically because of the address they took me home to. If they'd taken me home to where I was conceived in Springburn, would I not be here today? That's not right, isn't it? So this government absolutely gets that. You'll have heard it throughout the general election campaign when the First Minister talked about the austerity agenda is not something we have to live by. It's not inevitable. You'll have heard her talk about how the Scottish Government, and Jerry used the word, has mitigated a lot of these austerity measures. I think it's to the tune of £100 million out of our reduced budget, because we get that if we don't help people at the beginning of their lives and through the most difficult points of their lives, then we won't get the healthy Scotland, the equal Scotland that everybody in this room and everybody in this country wants. And Catherine said, the people in this room, you have the health of Scotland in your hands. Well, I would say, as the Minister for Children, you have the future of Scotland in your hands. I'm really sorry. I think I just have to give up on the speech. Can I say sorry to the civil servant who wrote me a fantastic speech? I shouldn't do this. I have to learn discipline, don't I? So can I just finish, because you want to ask me questions? Although I could read out the speech and then you can't ask me questions. So seriously, can I finish by thanking you for giving up your time today? I know how precious your time is as a professional in the health service. You're taking time to come here to learn and to share, but you're taking time away from your clients, from your patients, and that's always a conflict, isn't it? Can I afford to go away because I've just had to put someone's appointments back? Can I afford to go away because I won't be there for the emergency calls, a health visitor? But it's so important that we share and we learn and we take that back. I was at a meeting on a multidisciplinary working in Falkirk yesterday, and one of the team said, and it was a fantastic example of multidisciplinary working, and one of the team said, for the minutes that I give from my job to somebody else in this team, I just keep thinking of the minutes that I get back, because when we work as a team, we get it right when it needs to get right, instead of each of us, there was 5 in this multidisciplinary team, then having to deal with a crisis and actually having to find an extra day, half day or a week to help this family. So just think of it that minutes given gives you many minutes back. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for your commitment to supporting our children. And thank you for believing, like me and the Scottish Government, that every child in Scotland has the right to expect us to work together to get it right for each and every child. Thank you. Jump.
So, and thank you very much, Fiona, and I promise I won't tell the civil servant about the abandonment of the speech. Have we questions for Fiona? Can you say who you are, please, and use the roving microphone? Somebody there, and then take anybody for the next one.
Hello, Douglas Guest from Fathers Network Scotland. Hello again, Fiona. My couple statements and a question. Well done for having an image of a dad on the stand. I think 5 years ago we wouldn't have that. My dream is in 10 years, maybe 15 years, that we have more dads and more men in this room, because we still, if you understand the systemic issues around occupational segregation around early years, I think it's the lack of male role models. We're going to be, with Scottish Government, doing a pledge for next year for the Year of the Dad, which will include a pledge for employers to be more father-friendly, think about their dads, flexible work and shared parenting, and for service deliverers to audit. I have a dream, and it might sound a bit grandiose and I could talk to you a bit further. 10 years ago, I went to a Dads to Be course run in West Lothian. It changed how I was as a dad. I have a dream that maternity services are co-produced by dads, because still in West Lothian, that is the only NHS I'm aware of that runs a Dads to Be class. I bath my kids. I do a lot differently because I did that. And we're not engaging with young men at the right time. I used to work for Grampian Health Promotions, and we had this conundrum 10, 15 years ago. So my challenge is using Year of the Dad and everybody in this room, and I'd ask Fiona about this, can we co-produce maternity services with dads? Is that too far to go?
Great, someone else is answering for me.
I'm the head of midwifery for Fife, and we do involve our fathers in everything we do. I can't speak for the rest of the maternity services in Scotland, but I think that most of the health board areas do encourage families, because families are families no matter who they are.
Thank you, Fiona.
That's great. Can I just add a few more things? And I think this is one of the fantastic things about this. It's not about me answering your questions. It's about each of you telling what's happening elsewhere, because we don't always know what's happening. So if we find out if Fife can do it, then people from other health boards can go and say, Fife, tell us how you did it. And that's one of the biggest things. I hate when I go to something and people say to me, but it would be too difficult. There's the barriers. They're social work, we're health service, they're education. No, there's lots of places doing things together, working in different ways, and all we have to do is learn from each other. If someone else has worked out how to do it, let's all learn from them and not reinvent the wheel. A couple of things, Douglas. I hate when I'm answering questions, it sounds like I'm saying I've got all the answers and it's all happening, and it's not, but I do like to take the opportunity to let folk know what is happening. So I've written something here and I can't read it, but this week's Modern Apprenticeship Week, and I've concentrated on going out to nurseries to meet our modern apprentices who are working in care settings in nurseries, and I was delighted in Bishop Briggs to meet Rhys, who is a young man who is absolutely committed to working in care. And I said to all of them, not just Rhys, what brought you into this? But Rhys was really interesting. He said, I've got a great big family with lots of wee cousins, and I've always enjoyed working with them and seeing them growing up, or playing with them and seeing them grow up. I said, and I realised how important that was, and I want to be part of that. So we have got young people beginning to get it, and young men especially. So he was front and centre in my photographs. Year of the Dad, absolutely. Something that we're working on, and let's make these years of can produce lots of good work because we focus on what we're doing, but it's also most importantly about getting that message out to people, isn't it? Holistic, everything we do about getting it right for the child is at the centre of everything we do, and the child is at the centre of their family, And families come in many different shapes and sizes nowadays, but every child does have a dad. You can't get to be without your dad. So we will increase, we will try to work like that. And lots of things are happening already. And one that I'm really interested in is the work that we're doing at the Young Offenders Institute in Pullman, where we've got classes in there working with dads, working with these young men who probably became dads without thinking about it, and then didn't think about being a dad afterwards, and we're working hard with them. I was doing a book buck conference a few weeks ago, and I heard words coming out of my mouth that I hadn't really thought about, but I must have, because they must have been in there. And it's back to that nurturing and bonding. It's not just with mum that you have to bond with. And as a librarian, it just suddenly came to me. Right, I was a proud breastfeeding mum, wanted to be one of these ones that did it militantly in public, but didn't get that kind of baby. But it suddenly dawned on me. See, when you're reading with your kid, Dad, it's the closest Dad's going to get to breastfeeding. Think of the way child sits here, arm round, head into the side, and you're sharing the book, sharing eye contact. So, yeah, let's look at all the different ways we can do that bonding and nurturing without anybody realising that it sounds a bit preachy. It's not. They're just reading to their kid.
Another question? There's one at the back and then one here, and I thought librarians were quiet people. But we're being told that we've got 3 minutes left.
Right.
Hi, good morning. My name's Linda Wilson. I'm a health visitor in McLeod. I'm particularly glad that a dad is here because I wanted to highlight the fact that, yeah, it's great. There's a lot of work going on with early years with dads and young dads as well. But what about the dads that are separated from their wives and they're living in a different area and they've got access and they have the care of a child or a young child? My challenge is that as a health visiting service, we don't have the capacity to give them the same information and the same support as the mums who also have the care. Is that going to be developed at all?
Yeah. What? I'd need to sit down and talk to you about why not the capacity. If Dad's in the same area.
If he's not in the same area.
Right, if he's not in the same area.
Yeah.
Right, and Dad's got care of the child sometimes.
They share the care of the child.
They share care of the child. Then I would be encouraging Dad to get in touch with his local services to say, I'm a parent here. Does anybody say that?
But they need to know about that in the first place. A lot of dads don't know.
And I think that's partly this, the Year of the Dad and all the different things we do. The work we're doing in Pullman is to encourage young men or older men to realise that you're still dad.
And they're important, and they should be getting the same support and advice that their mums are getting.
So that's something that I'd like to, discuss further so that we can work out how do we get that message out to dads that they can go and ask. Well, do you know? Can I draw a parallel? And I hope I'm not making up. I'm getting a red card. Oh my goodness. But it just strikes me about your GP has to recognise if you're a carer nowadays and give you the information about being a carer. Your GP knows you're a dad. So is that a way of keeping that link going? I don't know. And I don't want to add more work to GPs, but it does strike me as it might be a model we could look at.
And your
Sorry.
last and final brief question here.
Hi, I'm Janet Dale, breastfeeding coordinator for HS Tayside, and I was just struck by your point about maternity leave, and I just wondered, in Scotland our most vulnerable babies are babies that end up in the neonatal intensive care units, but the mums there, the maternity leave starts once they give birth. And quite often we have mums in those units actually returning to work while their baby's still a patient. Is that something that can be addressed in terms of how these families who have quite challenging circumstances and ongoing needs with the whole family dynamics later on? I think they're a very, very vulnerable population.
Yeah, absolutely. There's new UK legislation on, what do they call it? Is it? No, it's not called maternity leave anymore because it's shared leave. That came in on the 1st of April, and that's interesting. Yeah, I've been to a couple of seminars, quite complicated legislation about how you've got a year and you can share it between you, and it's how you share it and everything. But yeah, that's something that I'll go away and think about. We can't affect it, but I've got 56 SNP MPs down the place that can affect it.
Really? I'd missed that.
Did somebody hear that? Sorry. Did I keep saying that? Right, I'm going, sorry. Listen, I'm really sorry. And I haven't meant to trivialise any of this, you know, because you are laughing and things like that. But yeah, it's about laughter's a form of medicine. So you've all got excited and enthused about this. So please keep the day going, keep it going like this. And I'm going to stay as long as I can. I'm supposed to go now, but can I stay?
Thank you very much, Fiona.